as
Love
always.
that.
So here we go. So we've got okay, is our next guest ready? I see him down there kind of
It's
going in and out.
He was there.
Okay, he's ready to go. All right. So my man, John Garcia. John, how are you doing, buddy?
What's going on, fellas? Excited to be here. This is a no brainer for us today. To be a tiny decimal point in this equation is totally worth it. So thanks for inviting me, and
Yes,
absolutely
of
thrilled to
course.
see how it's going. Fantastic.
Of course. K Grant stepping up with a $99.99 super chat. Austin C stepping up for $100. Just got John Rich, so proud of the efforts of Bryan and Vince and being a member of the community. Bryan of St. Francis, prayer of St. Francis, for it is in giving that you receive. Go Irish. Well, the thing is, we've already received.
Right.
And that's what we're stepping up and trying to do is try to help out. And I just knew Mike Padone stepping up big time. Really, really, really appreciate that, Mike. Chief Brody stepping up with a super chat. Really appreciate that. Couple more I just want to get to, John. We just got to cycle through these so we can talk some recruiting. John Klimek, thank you so much. Do the right thing, do the best you can, and always show people you care.
Can I address the very next comment there, even though it's not a super chat? Q Kibbs is commenting on my bracelet. This is what happens when you have a 9-year-old daughter.
Yeah, you got 3 daughters, so you're like triple screwed.
And she's like, Dad, I want to make your school colors, and you got to wear it. All right. I wore it, and you got to do what you got to do. That's
true fatherhood. That's true love right there, that you're still wearing it, even though she won't know whether you are or are not wearing it.
I know. I can't tell her with a straight face if I didn't wear it. You know what I mean? I can't.
You're not a good liar. I've learned that quickly. You're a pretty terrible liar
too. So
Jacob Steely, God bless. Go Irish. Thank you, Bryan and Vince, and the Irish Breakdown community. Yes, thanks to all of you. Matt Russell, love listening to you guys. Thanks for all you do. So John Garcia, we didn't bring you on here so you could read some super chats with us. Although when we told John, well, first of all, John always agrees to come on. But when we told him what we were doing and why we wanted him on, he was like, definitely coming on. So John, thank you so much for being with us. But let's dive into some questions here, John. So look at Notre Dame's recruiting class. The board's getting a little bit small now of guys that we think they have a shot at. It really comes down to 2 prospects. Number 1, Billy Schrouth, the guard from Wisconsin, who I'm very high on. You and I may have a conversation about his potential inclusion in the SI 99, no matter who he picks. And then Xavier Nwankpa. So right now, you guys have Notre Dame ranked 4th. And this would be the highest that Notre Dame has been in quite a while. If they get those 2 players, I'm not from a ranking standpoint, because we got to know how everybody pans out, but just talk to me about what you think Notre Dame's class would look like if they're able to add Xavier Nwankpa and Billy Schrouth to it.
Well, I think each of those guys are really kind of the icing on the cake, not only for the class, but for those position groups. Bryan, you know this very well. We rank a bit differently in terms of the recruiting classes. We look at SI 99 guys, obviously, right? Top quality coming into the class. Premium priority positions, quarterback, left tackle, pass rusher, defensive back, all of those things. And then we look at addressing team needs and position groups. So with the DB haul Notre Dame is bringing in, and certainly with the offensive line haul, the Irish already have committed with those really 4 offensive tackles. Those 2 additions would cap 2 of the better position groups, not to mention the best, one of the best classes in the country. So I think either way, Notre Dame is right in that top 5 range, almost regardless of what happens. And look, Texas A&M, in terms of those outside looking in of the top 5, Texas A&M is on a bit of a roll right now in recruiting, and that's probably not going to stop. But if Notre Dame can add at least one of these 2, which I think they will, this top 5 classes, you never want to say it's guaranteed or solidified, but at least in terms of early signing day, it's pretty good. But this is a great, great haul. 6 SI 99 guys, a chance for at least 1 more, maybe 2 more, depending on how things shake out. And I really, really like this offensive line haul. I think from an outsider's perspective, from a macro, when we look at Notre Dame, we think of a big run-dominant offensive line group. Always, right? It just pops in your head. You don't even think about it twice. But then you look at what they're doing this cycle. 1 offensive tackle, 2 offensive tackle, 3 offensive tackle, 4 offensive tackle. This is a shift, to me, a shift in philosophy in modernizing what the personnel looks like at Notre Dame. We've seen it at other positions. We've talked ad nauseum about the need to do it at the skill positions. Now we're starting to see the plan shift on the offensive line, because a lot of the elite programs are doing this. You just recruit a bunch of tackles, figure out the positions later, and then maybe an interior guy, which would be Schrauf in this case.
Right.
Maybe an interior
who
guy
I think could
has...
play tackle. I mean, I would say that Schrauf
Right.
is the second most athletic of those guys that they're getting, even though he is an interior guy. And I'll say this. So this is John, this is to me going back to the way Harry Hiestand recruited with a little bit of a caveat. And Jeff Quinn started recruiting more centers and guards. Harry was always recruit tackles, and then you move them. Quentin Nelson was a tackle. Alex Bars was a tackle. Sam Musford played tackle in high school, although he was never going to play tackle in college. What we're seeing is Jeff Quinn going back to just recruit edge players, and now some of them have moved around. But what I think is we're seeing here is this group, especially compared to like last year's group, we're adding into last year's group, is you're seeing more athleticism being emphasized. Tai Chan, you didn't bring Tai Chan in to be a mauler. When he committed, he was 250 pounds, right? You're not bringing in Emil Wagner to be a Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey mauler. You're not bringing in Ashton Craig to necessarily do that, although he's a pretty physical kid. And even Billy Schrauf, who's a physical mauler, he's an athletic physical mauler. And I think that's the thing for me is that we're seeing lacking at some positions right now on the Notre Dame offensive line, especially at right tackle and right guard, is that lack of just the speed to get to the next level, get to the perimeter, because RPO, screen game, all the zones, outside zones, all that stuff requires you to be able to move. And that's what all five of these kids could do if they're able to get Billy Schrauf.
Yeah, and I think Schrauf is in very good spot in terms of where Notre Dame is recruiting him and targeting him. It's felt like more of a matter of maybe when and not if. But obviously, you still have to close, right? I mean, there's less than a month until early signing day kicks off on December 15th, so you want to wrap that up. And then Nwankpa is the wild card, right? I mean, this is an elite safety, maybe the best in the country. We're still there's really three guys, right? It's Kamari Wilson, Nwankpa, Zion Branch. Those three are kind of round robining for that top safety spot. There's no question on who the most physical is. It's Nwankpa, and I think it's just a matter of those other things. Where does he stack up with those guys? But either way, for Notre Dame, you can sell Kyle Hamilton pretty much 1-to-1 with him, at least from a height, weight, athleticism standpoint. But you got chief competition as well, obviously, with Ohio State and the in-state Iowa Hawkeyes, and he's done a really good job keeping things close to the vest. So I think we know a lot more about Schrauf's recruitment than X's recruitment at this time, but it doesn't mean Notre Dame's out by any stretch.
So let's talk about the secondary, because, John, I would not be doing my job if I brought you on and we didn't talk DBs. You might avoid my phone calls for a couple days if we didn't do that. I want to talk about this defensive back class, because I look at the Notre Dame secondary and I see a guy here, I see a guy there. I love their freshman class, but just the lack of long athletic guys is noticeable in a lot of ways. They're just the lack of speed. I know you love this corner class for Notre Dame. Talk to me, John, about how you would evaluate this DB class as a whole if they're able to add Xavier Nwankpa, and how it stacks up to, because there's some really good Clemson's got a great DB class. There's some really good. I think Ohio State's is overrated. That's just me. But there's some really good DB classes out there. I want to know from you how you think this DB class from Notre Dame would stack up, because what a lot of people may not know is we're trying to get more and more people to look at SI 99. You have Devin Moore ranked as the number 80 player in the country. And so clearly you like him a lot. But let me hear from you what you would think of this DB class, John, if they're able to get Xavier Nwankpa to add to the four that they already have.
Well, we talked about it with the O-line, right? It's icing on the cake. It's kind of that last piece. I think with this group, and obviously Devin Moore is where we'll start the conversation, you've got a lot of corner experience, and then you've got this combination with some of these other guys, with guys who can play corner, but maybe better suited to play a nickel corner type of role, which, of course, you need in this day and age.
Jaden Mickey, the guy that jumps out to me for that, yeah.
Most people line up in nickel, as their base defense now, and then dime is not so irregular as it used to be. But there is not a true center fielder, play caller, free safety experience coming in at the position today. Now, can some of these guys move there and develop there? I do think so. And obviously Devin Moore is where that conversation begins too. But Nwankpa would bring that sort of complete feel to the future of the Notre Dame secondary. And I think he'd probably be the guy most suited to play immediately should he commit to Notre Dame. So I think that plays a big role in the perception of a position group. But like you said, we've got Devin Moore ranked higher than anybody else because he's just the modern DB. He is exactly what you want. He's battled injuries. He was kind of unavailable at portions of his high school career, but he's back on the field now, and he's making plays every single time we check. He's long. He's got receiver experience. Those ball skills translate over to what he does in the secondary, and that has become really the starting point of how we evaluate cornerbacks. It's not about hips and quickness anymore. Those are still important, but it starts with length and ball skills because you're combating the Chase Claypools of the world who are monsters that run like small guys. So you got to be able to play him at the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to play him at the catch point, but you've also have to have the athleticism to decelerate and play that back shoulder, play that 50-50 ball. So Devin Moore is where the conversation begins. And if you can end it with Nwangba, this is probably the most complete secondary class. Clemson's is close. They won't have the volume Notre Dame has. Ohio State's without Jaheim Singletary takes a hit. I love Terrence Brooks. He's our number one nickel prospect. And for me, a Sunday guy, probably, if you want to play that game. But I think when you talk about a complete group, this would really help Notre Dame be right in the thick and the beginning of that conversation. We'll see what Alabama does. They've got Damani Jackson, Denver Harris, a couple guys still maybe joining their group. But in terms of who's committed right now, this Notre Dame class stacks up with the best.
And for me, and you know my stance, Benjamin Morrison's the highest ceiling guy that Notre Dame has in the class right now. And I would argue that Jaden Mickey is the most ready to step foot on campus right now and help you out of the class. You know, maybe he doesn't have the ceiling of some other guys, but that's the thing I like about this group. There's more diversity. There's a lot of diversity in this class. And we even saw that last year. You've got Ryan Barnes, who's almost 6'3". You got Philip Riley, who's short and strong. And that's something I really like about this corner class too, because you could legitimately put 4 of those corners on the field together and have a secondary, right? I mean, that's the thing is you have a nickel, 2 corners and a safety, or 2 corners and 2 safeties. I mean, you need that in today's game. You need the ability to put 3 corners on the field and still be able to tackle the run game. And that's the thing that's for the final thing for me is this is a physical corner class for Notre Dame. Devin Moore's the one not physical guy they have. I mean, not that he's not physical, but like he's not the smash. Benjamin Morrison will smash you. Jaden Mickey is a physical little guy. Jaden Bellamy will smack you. And I think as you watch Notre Dame play in their secondary now, I think that's going to be a welcome addition to what they do. Last question for you, John, and I thank you so much for being on here. Notre Dame defensively is off to a red hot start in 2023 on defense. As good as their 2022 defensive class is, the 2023 defensive class is off to an even better start. I want to talk to you first about the 2 ends. I want to talk to you about the Keon Keeley and Brennan Vernon and just how big it is to, number one, get them, but then number 2, to get them from where they got them. And I want to talk to you about Keon Keeley. In your mind, there's some people that have him outside the top 100. Some people have him in the top 10. Let's roll. Let me hear it.
Yeah, this is, we talked about this, about a month ago, last time I was on the show. He's going to be a top 25 guy for us at SI. He's one we've seen. I live outside of Tampa, so we've seen him a lot over the last few years. And the step he has taken in 2021 from he's a raw athlete to this is a dominant pass rusher every single Friday night has been one of the bigger jumps we've seen at any level. And he's playing at a very high level in the Tampa area there at Berkeley Prep. I know all Notre Dame fans got to see him play against Arch Manning and kick their what for 4 quarters. And it could have been a lot worse.
I'm not gonna lie, that was fun. That was fun to watch.
So you've got a bona fide pass rusher in Keeley, and then in Vernon you've got the balance, right? You've got the guy who can set the edge, who's a little bit more polished, a little bit more physical and ready from a technical standpoint today. So you could make the argument Vernon should be ranked higher from a floor perspective, but Keeley should be ranked higher from a ceiling perspective. We take both into account at SI, and I can give it away that Keeley's going to be ranked higher when those rankings do come out. We like to take our time with the evaluation process, so stay tuned for that.
You mean you don't want to rank every month and a half after seeing 2 games and just reevaluate your whole rank. I know I'm not going to put you on the spot and make you respond to that, but the people in this chat know how absurd I think that is to do that. So you're going to do a ranking in December after the regular season and then do another whole rankings after the All-Star games. So anyway.
Yeah, we do too. We do too. We do one in August ahead of their senior seasons, and we do one in January when everything's wrapped up. So it creates a control balance there where we can't go nuts off of a 7 touchdown performance because look, these are elite players. They should be dominant in high school. We shouldn't let one performance, one game, one play for that matter really shift the total body of work. And we do emphasize that in-person evaluation. So yeah, the January All-Star circuit's going to be good to us this year, and we're looking forward to that one. But yeah, this group will be updated in January, and then the next group with Keon Keeley and Drake Bowen and all those guys will come out next August, and you'll probably see a few Notre Dame commitments in that 2023 initial SI-99. I think Drake is one of the best football players in high school football today, not just in the class of 2023. You know how I feel about Keeley and Vernon. I mean, that front 7 already is established. It is a national front 7. It is not there's a couple Midwest guys who Notre Dame, lucked into early on. No, this is a national class already, and it's going to contend right at the beginning as one of the top classes, just like we saw in this 2022 cycle.
And it's coming right after a class that has 3 front 7 SI-99 guys in it as well. And that is Tyson Ford with the 2 linebackers, Jalen Seed and Josh Burnham. And that's the ultimate thing for Notre Dame is it's not just about having that one good class. If you want to compete with the best, it's got to be, stacking them up on top of each other. And that's the exciting thing about what Marcus Freeman is doing is it's like, okay, yeah, we have a great 2022 class. Not going to rest on that. We're going to go out and get some big ones. So John, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have you back on to talk some more recruiting and some more evaluations. But I want to thank you so much for joining us and being part of what we're doing today and just your continued support from SI All-American.
No, thank you, Bryan, and thank you, Vince, and the whole IB family. It's always fun to come on because we can just talk ball, right? We don't have to talk nonsense or any fluff. So it's always a welcome home feel here for me. And yeah, my number, man. Anytime you need anything, just let us know. And yeah, keep this thing going, man. I'm going to get my donations ready to go here too. And I hope more of the listeners do the same.
Thanks, John. Appreciate
That's
you.
awesome,
Appreciate
John.
you coming
Thanks.
on, buddy.